In the nearly 20 years Knifewear has been around, we've seen the love of Japanese knives in Canada and the world over supercharge the industry and breathe new life into the world of Japanese knife making. Canadian home cooks, chefs, knife collectors have helped many Japanese craftsmen grow their craft and their business by supporting them and buying their works. And few knife makers have more Canadian fans than Masashi Yamamoto. This October, Masashi-san got to meet over 200 of his adoring fans and share his art with them. When Masashi-san started his own workshop back in 2013, we were immediate patrons. Though relatively young at the time, I think around his late 30s, he showed immediate promise as a really talented knife maker. He started his own workshop with the express purpose of preserving his family's craft and sticking to the really traditional ways of hand forging blades, bringing that technique into the future. Masashi Yamamoto practices a style of knife making originally practiced by his grandfather and passed down to him. The idea is to forge the steel as close to the final shape as possible. A lot of knife makers forge a pretty rough shape pretty quickly, and then they trim away a lot of steel. And that's fine, but it can be wasteful. You can't really reuse that steel. And so Masashi-san forges as close to the final shape as possible to create less waste. The only steel he really trims off is steel on the edges that can get overheated from the forging process. Steel that would compromise the performance of the knife, but in this case, he's able to remove just the right amount. Today, he's pushing these ancient techniques into the modern age, continually experimenting with new steels, new techniques, just any new idea that really strikes him or anything he learns from the knife makers around him in Sanjo, all while trying to pass his methods, his immense skill, down to the future generation, his two apprentices. Masashi-san is making some of the best kitchen knives in the world, and the vast majority of his blades end up in the hands of chefs and cooks in North America. And Masashi-san loves Canada. We've hosted him a number of times, both to meet the folks who love his work and support him, but also to enjoy the vast prairies and the incredible mountains out here. He truly loves getting to see the smiling faces of the folks who enjoy his knives. He's also a little bit more than obsessed with Saskatoon berries, funny enough. There's a lot of Canadian foods he likes, but Saskatoon berries really hit home for him. And so much so that he even bought some seeds and has a Saskatoon bush outside of his house. We brought him back to Canada this October to meet folks and to actually forge for a live audience. And it turned out to be two of the biggest knife maker events we've ever hosted. Masashi-san touched down in Toronto on October 1st. He met up with Jacob and Naoto and headed down to the Toronto store to meet the team. Spent a couple days touring around the city, and after some sightseeing, some good food, a dinner, a brisket and beer, and a little death metal show for me on the side, it was time for event day. On October 4th, well over 100 Torontonians turned out to see Masashi-san forge knives on the streets of the Big Smoke. The folks at Wild Hearts Cafe, just around the corner from Knifewear Toronto, were gracious enough to host us. They lent us their parking lot, and the owner is a blacksmith himself, so he lent us a forge and an anvil conveniently, even an umbrella because it was really hot that day. We rented a little stage, and around 2 p.m., folks started rolling on up. Masashi-san kind of demonstrated the whole process start to finish. He started with a billet of mild steel. He forge welded a harder piece of white carbon steel onto it. And from there, he hammered it out into more or less a full knife shape. Now, it was really hot. When we were planning the event, we thought, hey, early October, it'll be nice and cool. It's Canada, no problem. It turned out to be over 30 degrees, especially in the direct sunlight. So we had an umbrella for Masashi-san, but standing next to that forge, he started to get a little hot. So he had to take a little break, have some time to cool off. We fed him lots of Gatorade and an incredible customer ran down the street to get him a bag of ice. What the trooper he is, he continued the demonstration, finished the knife, and all while, taking breaks to put that nice bag of ice on his head and cool off a little bit. In between each hammering step, there's time where you have to reheat the steel and wait for it to get hot. And so Masashi-san was nice enough to answer questions about his knife making. Some people asked stuff that was very, surface level. For, if you don't know anything about the blacksmithing, how long does it take to make a knife? How hard do you have to hit it? Some people got real nerdy into the chemical composition of the steel or what mediums he likes to quench his steel. And he answered them all. He even signed a couple autographs for people that wanted one. Back inside the shop, the Toronto team entertained over 120 people. Throughout the day, a ton of folks came through to meet Masashi-san, thank him for his incredible work, and well over 60 people got their knives engraved by him. One lucky customer managed to snag a Masashi Sasquatch knife, and he even brought some of his brand new SPG Strix knives. and a couple of people picked those up as well. These are really cool. This is his first time using the steel, and he said it's really difficult to work with. Despite being very skilled, there was a very high failure rate with the steel, but he ended up with about a dozen knives to bring us and to share with people, and some very happy folks now have them in their kitchens.
My name is Clayton Erickson. I just bought a Masashi Santoku. That's the with the new strict steel that he's been working on, so really happy to get in early and get something that's expressively unique from him here, so really excited for it.
What's the first thing you're going to cut with it?
Oh man, that's tough. I do a lot of like Asian cooking, so it's probably going to be a mix of some type of meat and vegetables as you would expect with a Santoku. So I'll try to think of something special, maybe something Japanese for a meal for the first time.
We're extremely grateful to Masashi-san for his hard work that day, to the Toronto team for their hospitality, and for everybody that showed up to the event. Masashi-san does the whole knife making process himself with only 2 apprentices. He could scale up production, he could automate more process, use more machines, he could bring on more apprentices, he could do a lot, he could charge a lot more money for the amount of work he puts into these knives. He could, but he doesn't. And it's not because he's stubborn, but because he's so dedicated. Masashi-san understands the weight of the lineage he comes from, and he wants to honor that and honor the craft of knife making as a whole. Now, while he wants to make sure that the traditional ways of doing things are never lost, he never gets bogged down in tradition. As I said earlier, he's always trying out new steels, new techniques, changing up the way he approaches knife making, and only sticking with what works. Right? He drops away the stuff that doesn't work or doesn't make sense. He finds better ways to do it, but the stuff that is proven to work well stays a part of his knife making, and so it's continually changing and continually evolving. His standards are so damn high because he cares. He's always chasing perfection, knowing full well he'll never achieve it, not in his eyes. His wife jokes that he loves knife making more than her. I don't know if that's actually true, but he sure does care about his craft. So what does all this blood, sweat, and passion produce? I wouldn't dishonor Masashi-san by saying perfection. It's really damn close. I love how his knives look machine immaculate, yet unmistakably handmade. I don't even know how to quantify that, but you can just tell when you look at one. They're stunning, beautiful knives, first of all, which gets me excited to pick them up and cook with them. Now, not just obsessed with the process, Masashi-san cares just as much about how they work, how they cut in the hands of the end user. His lovely wife is constantly using his knives in their home kitchen and giving him feedback on how they could be better. A lot of knife makers really don't ever touch food with their knives, and while Masashi-san's not a huge cook, he spends a lot of time listening to the people who do cook, to his wife, and to folks like us. We give him a lot of feedback on his knives, and with every batch, he's always tweaking and improving. Every batch of knives is a little bit better than the last. That's why in about 12 short years, Masashi-san has gone from having his own workshop for the very first time to being at the top of his craft and just continuing to skyrocket higher and higher. He makes every blade shape a little bit different to suit the purposes of that specific type of knife. And on each knife, he has little attributes that make different parts of the knife better for different jobs. He typically tapers his knives from a thicker piece of steel up at the back end down to a much thinner piece of steel down to the front. It's a significant difference in the thickness of the knife, and that just comes down to how he hammers and grinds it. The front end is very thin and precise for doing delicate work, whereas the back end is much more robust and a lot better for people that like to rock their knife. By focusing equally on the techniques of making the knives, as well as the techniques of how the knives are going to be used, he makes something that is better to cut with than just about anything else out there. Now, after a night of beer and pizza at the not quite open Nice Slice, it was delicious by the way, try the vodka pepperoni, it was time to go to bed because we were up at 7 a.m. the next morning for the long drive down the 401 to Ottawa. When we rolled up to Knifewear in the Glebe, the team was beaming, waiting for us, and 3 local chefs were warming up to demonstrate their craft while Masashi-san did his thing. Not to be outdone by Toronto, almost 100 Ottawa locals showed up to the shop with just as many folks looking to get their knives engraved. Now, I hadn't been out to the Ottawa store for about a decade, and so it was really nice to meet a lot of the people that I've connected with on social media over the years, especially Mohawk chef Chris Commandant, who got his knife engraved with something very special.
Hi, I'm Chef Chris. I'm here at the Masashi event in Ottawa. You can find me on Instagram at Mohawk_chef, and today I came in to get my knife custom engraved by the blacksmith himself with a phrase of my choice. So the engraving I chose today was my indigenous name, Otsena, which means he who tends the fire. It has significant meaning to me because it relates to my journey in cooking and my commitment to indigenous food and food security and sovereignty. It's an absolutely wonderful blade. The engraving is just perfect. I was so happy to get a chance to meet him today.
I want to thank the Ottawa team for hosting us. It was a really great event and they did a great job putting it together. Thank you to Adam Gore, who whipped up beef steak tartare with his Masashi Sasquatch. It was very cool. Squash butter on the side. It was so good. He gave me a lot of tartare and I ate all of it. It was delicious. Rikuo Kameda, he was grilling yakitori and oyster mushrooms with butter over the Conroe. Phenomenal. Nathan from Pelican Seafood was slicing some of the best salmon and scallop sashimi I've ever had, paired with the tokusen soy sauces that we carry in store. We of course appreciate the amazing fans that turned out to this event and made Masashi-san so happy. He was tired at the end of the day, but he was beaming because he got to spend the day meeting people who just love what he does. And really, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. He loves getting to see the smiling faces of people that own his knives. After all that hard work and rich food, Naoto and Lordy took Masashi-san up to Montreal for a couple days just to sightsee, to eat at some restaurants, to go to the markets, to walk around old Montreal. He deserved a bit of a break and a vacation before he headed down to another event in LA. It may sound like we worked him hard, and I'll be honest, we did, but compared to his work back at home, this was a real treat for him to get away. Once again, I want to thank Masashi-san sincerely for doing such a great event, for humoring us, for making such good knives for us, and for coming to meet so many of his fans and engrave so many knives to the people that just love his work. Those days meant so much to those people, and they will never forget it. Thank you, Masashi-san. And thank you, because of folks like you who are watching right now, who are into this kind of thing, blacksmiths in Japan are able to practice and preserve their art. They make enough money now, not just to keep their businesses afloat, but to hire on apprentices and do the hard work of training the future generations. It is hard and expensive to train somebody who has no idea about making knives, how to make a good knife. It takes a very long time and a lot of material. Because of your support and our support, they're able to do this. And the craft of knife making in Japan has gone from something that was at risk of eventually going extinct to a bustling, thriving industry that young people really want to get into now. And because of your support, I get to do stuff like this all day. I get to spend my day talking about knives and meeting the people that make them and honestly just having a great time. It's a cool job, and if it weren't for you, I wouldn't get to do it, so thank you. You are the people keeping the craft of knife making alive and strong in Japan. Thanks for watching. If you want to see Masashi-san at work, we went to visit him in Japan in the spring, and Jacob did a great video of kind of just 20 minutes of him quietly working. It's very cool. If you want to grab one of his knives, these super rare SBG Strix knives will be available during the Knifewear Spring Garage Sale. That's coming up November 3rd to 9th. These ones are going to the stores, and they might be available on the website the day after. We do have some of Masashi-san's work because people love his work so much and support him so much. It is often sold out, so if you see it, get it. But there's links in the description down below. You can see the products linked below. We do have a handful of his knives in stock right now. And if we're sold out while you're watching this, stay tuned. Leave your email, they'll come back in. He is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He is such an incredible knife maker, but he's also just a really great guy. He's super nice, he's hilarious. We had a lot of goofy jokes while he was there in Japan. We went for beers and just goofed around. If you ever see Masashi-san in person, just go, "So die," and he'll laugh his ass off. He's a great guy. We're very fortunate to work with him. If you like knives, you want to learn more about them, check out some of our other videos. We'll see you later.